Turns out, Pumbaa was right. Those lights in the night sky, most of them are balls of gas. You wouldn't know that in Galileo's time. I'm Mike with Expedition Gaming. This is Galileo Galilei. Welcome to the turn of the 16th and 17th century. We are pioneering astronomers that will be observing the night sky and unlocking the mysteries of the heavens. Let's do a 2-second overview of what you're trying to do, and then we'll get into the action. The goal of this game is to make observations in the night sky, and that's these guys here. You'll be observing planets and supernovas and these constellations that are listed here. Now, these observations will be a significant source of points, and it's what you'll be chasing throughout the game. To make an observation, you need to spend dice. You need to spend the right color and value of dice to make an observation. So, much of this game is taking actions that will build the right set of dice to make these observations and score points. And in addition, we'll be using and upgrading our equipment, which will make it easier to build that dice pool. And almost everything you do in this game has the potential to earn you points. You can choose what to focus on or specialize in to maximize those points. And all the while, you will be contending with the Inquisition. They're not too keen on your scientific advancements. But if managed well, the Inquisition can be leveraged to your advantage. Now, since observations are the primary thing we're chasing after, I want to briefly show you how to make those observations so you have context for the actions we take on our turn. As I said, to make an observation, you need to spend dice. So, for example, let's say we want to observe the constellation Scorpius here. You will need to spend a red die with a value of 4. Now, you can always overspend. Say you turn in a red 5. That's fine. You just don't get any change back. Or in addition, you could also spend a couple of dice that add up to the value. So the 3 is not enough. You could add a second die in there, add them together, and you've got at least your 4 with the right color. Now that's observing constellations. Once you make that observation, you're going to mark it with one of your constellation markers. That goes out there and indicates, okay, I've observed that. You'll then score the points and get any benefits that come along with it, and no one else would be able to observe that constellation. Now, observing a major object, like the supernova or the planet up there, you're going to need to spend a combination of dice. You need to match the color and the value of the object, and it's going to take at least 2 different colors. Like, for example, this purple one requires you to spend red and a blue die that added up equal the value of 7. So, for example, I could spend a blue 3 and a red 4, and that would satisfy that requirement. And again, you could spend multiple dice in order to hit the values that you need. So, for example, I've got my red, I've got my blue, and add it all together, this equals at least 7. So I can turn those dice in to make this observation. Now, when you observe a major object, unlike constellations, you don't just mark it with one of your markers. Observing a major object allows you to then claim that and add it into your library here. Once added into your library, you can ignore everything on this side of the card. The only thing that matters now are these icons right here. You'll be able to tap into those icons later to gain benefits, And we'll see that in action later on. But for right now, just know that observing major objects will remove them from the board and add them into your library, and then you'll see a new object come out. Observing constellations will mark them off with one of your markers. So that's the heart behind what we're doing. We'll be building up our dice pools so that we can make observations and then score points off of those observations. And I think that's enough of an overview to at least give you some context behind the actions that we'll be taking on our turn. So with that said, we today will be playing as Galileo Galilei, and we will be going up against our opponent, Mr. Alien here, and he is Nicholas Copernicus. Now these astronomers are going to give us each our own unique player abilities that will help us out throughout the game. Now the flow of the game is going to be, we'll take turns alternating. We'll take a turn, Mr. Alien will take a turn. We'll go back and forth until we have worked through this entire deck of objects. And as you saw earlier, whenever you make a major observation, you claim one of those cards. It gets added to your library. So in that manner, we will work through this deck. And once we have drawn the final card out, we'll finish that round, so everyone has an equal number of turns. We'll take one more final turn each, and then that will end the game. So that deck is essentially our end game timer. So let's take a turn. Now the very first thing that you'll do on your turn is choose what actions you're going to take, and you'll do that using your telescope. You can move your telescope 1 to 3 spaces, you're reminded of that right here, and whatever space you point to, those are the actions that you're going to take. Now at the start, we're pointing here at nothing, and we can move up to 3 spaces. I think we're going to go 1, 2, right to here. You'll notice there's a row of printed actions and a row of actions that are found on these little tiles here. You can do both actions in any order that you want. And if there's a slash, you're going to choose either this or that. So I think for this very first action, we're going to do the left side here, which simply means you can gain a die of your choice. So we're going to get another red die. And anytime you get a new die, it always comes in at a value of 1. We're going to skip that. That boosts us up on these tracks over here, which are designed for endgame scoring, and we're not anywhere near that. So we're going to ignore that for now. Then down to this tile here. This side lets you increase the value of all of your red dice by 1. So we're going to bump up each of these guys to a 2. That icon there is going to let us move these books and get benefits, and we'll look at that later on. So that's the top action done. That's the inside action done. You're reminded of that right here. The next part of your turn is to take the tile that you just used and move it to the very bottom here. So this is going to be a rotation of these actions that kind of come and go. The last part of your turn is a bit of cleanup. None of these steps apply to us right now. We'll ignore them for the moment, but we'll see them soon enough. On to Mr. Alien's turn. And he's going to go 1, 2, 3. And he's going to take these actions here. This top one is to spot a comet. It's a very simple action where you will take your leftmost comet token and place it out on the main board right up here. Anywhere up in that row is fine. And that's it for that action. Now what comets do is they help add or contribute to the values you need to make an observation. So you could reduce the cost of this, say, down to a 6. The first time you use a comet, it'll contribute 1 toward whatever value you need. After you've done that, you flip the token over and you move it down to this row. Then the next time you use it, it will contribute 2 to whatever observation you're making. And after that second use, at the end of your turn, you'll be able to claim one of the benefits down below here and gain whatever is printed. But for now, he's got it out there ready to go for whenever he needs it. His second action, he is going to activate this side of the tile here, which will increase all of his blue dice by 1. That side there deals with when the Inquisition shows up over here, and we'll get into the details of that in a little bit. The other icon there is called a quadrant. And anytime you gain these tokens, you just hold on to them, and then as a free action on your turn, you can spend quadrants to do various things. You can spend 1 quadrant to increase the value of a die by 1, or you can change the color of one of your dice. The value of the die will stay the same, but you can swap out the color. You could spend 2 quadrants to just gain a new die, or get 3 book movements in your library. And again, we'll see more of that later. This deals with the Inquisition. 4 of them will actually let you spot a comet, the action that Mr. Alien just took. So that will finish his turn. He spotted a comet. He increased his blue dice. Next step is to move that down there. None of that cleanup, and again, we'll see more of that as it occurs. But for now, it's back to us. And I think we're going to do something similar. We'll move 1 space there. We'll go ahead and spot a comet. And then I think we're going to take this side of the tile's action. This will let us increase the value of 1 die by 2. So we're going to bump this blue up to a level 3. So then that comes down there. Back to Mr. Alien. He's going to have a very quick turn. That's the same as what we did a minute ago. He's going to grab an extra die, and he will take another red die. And then he's going to take that action, which will upgrade both of his red dice by 1. This will rotate. And that's his turn. Now, for our turn, I was hoping to avoid the observe action because our special ability says that we can observe an additional constellation whenever we take the observe action. Normally, you are limited to either observing 1 major object, which would be, again, these top observations here, or you're allowed to observe 2 constellations. So our special ability says that whichever of those choices we go with, we're allowed to observe an additional constellation. Now, we're all set up for a major observation. We've got 7 dice here, and I've had my eye on this supernova up here, so we can get that. But we don't have enough to do something with this yellow die here, so I was kind of hoping to hold off, but I'm a little nervous when I look over at Alien's setup over here. He's got a 6 and potentially a 7 up there, so he could... Hey, wait a minute. We've got a comet too, and... Okay, I got a plan here. Here's what we'll do. We will go to here, and then we'll take this bottom action first, which will roll that up to a 2. And then we'll take the top action, which will be to observe. So we're going to observe the supernova here, which costs 7. And again, we have a total of 7 with the right combination of dice. So that's going to let us take the supernova. Which will score us 7 points. And then once the major object is observed, it gets added into your library right there. And again, that adds to the rows here, and we'll be able to move these books across the rows and gain the benefits that those books move across. That's for a later action. So now we've done what would normally be the end of an observe action, but because of our special ability, we can now observe an additional constellation. So we have a yellow 2. And out here are either of these constellations. They take the same thing. So we're going to tap into our comet. That's going to add 1 to the value. So the 2 plus the 1 will give us the 3 that we need to observe one of those constellations. So the comet flips over and it comes down here. And now it can be used on a future turn. It's important to note you can never use the same comet twice in one turn or one action, but this will be available for us in a future turn. So with that 3, we can take off 1 constellation token, and you always gain the benefit of what's listed there. So we will gain a quadrant, and then we can claim either of these constellations. They both do the same thing. They're both 4 points, and they will bring an Inquisitor into our situation here. So we'll get 4 points right away, plus an Inquisitor. Now when these guys come in, they get added right here into your cellar. Now when they come in, they are laying down and that's it. There's no immediate effect to them being in there. Now they will affect the game in a couple of different ways at a couple of different times. There are icons like this throughout the game that will let you move these guys further along into your cellar over here. So to clarify, if you move an Inquisitor on your turn, an interrogation is going to happen at the end of your turn. So everything that I'm about to explain only happens if you have moved an Inquisitor, because they come in laying down, they're at rest. But as soon as you move them or influence them, then at the end of your turn, you're going to see this interrogation. Now you'll notice there are numbers along the top, numbers along the bottom. The numbers at the bottom are going to be how many points you will lose if they are in one of these spaces at the end of the game, or how many points at the end of the game you'll gain for any Inquisitor in this position here. So that's the numbers at the bottom, endgame victory points. The numbers at the top are going to affect where your standings are on this track right here. And again, this is also for endgame victory points. So again, both the reputation track here and your cellar here all deal with endgame victory points, either gaining or losing. But you will affect your standing on each of those tracks all throughout the game. Now, the way that you affect your standing has to do with, again, this icon here, which indicates movement. Whenever you advance an Inquisitor along the cellar, then at the end of your turn, during the cleanup phase, you're going to have an interrogation. So what that means is whatever Inquisitors you have in your cellar, you add them all together and look at the top numbers. So we have -2, -1, and 1. So in total, this would be -2 movement on the influence track. So we would drop down to here because of what happened in our cellar there. At the end of the game, if we were still here, we would lose 7 victory points. So that's why movement here is a little risky at first, because unless you have enough movement to get them all the way over here, you're likely going to take some negative movement out on the reputation track. But if once you get enough guys over here or enough movement to get them over there, now you're positive on your changes on the reputation track. So this is a very fluid situation that you're always looking for ways to manipulate and strike in just the right moment when the conditions are right. But again, we do have an Inquisitor down in here now because of our constellation observation. And one more reminder, we will not have an interrogation this turn because we did not move him. When they come in, they just lay down and they're just chilling down there until something happens. Okay, so this die goes back. That is now claimed. No one else can grab that constellation. This card will refill. And then we will rotate like that. And again, no need to worry about this Inquisitor. He was not moved, so no interrogation. That's it. For Alien's turn, he's going to just adjust by one position and take both of these actions. Now this here allows you to upgrade all of these any of these tiles. All of these tiles are double-sided and have a better version of what's on the other side. And the game does come with a handy little aid here that lets you know what's on the opposite side of each of the tiles. So for his upgrade, he will choose this tile right here. Second action is just simply to gain one quadrant. And we're going to do a very similar thing. We'll come here, and I think for our upgrade, we'll choose this tile here. And then we'll gain a quadrant. And that's it for us. And for Alien's turn, he's at the end. So when you're at the end, your first movement will take you back to here. You always ignore these spaces here. So he could go 1, 2, or 3. He's going to go 1. He will take the bottom action first to increase his yellow die by 2. And then he'll do the top observe action. And for this one, he has a total of 6, which would be the color purple. And that's exactly what he needs to observe the Geminids. Is that how you pronounce that? He's going with that one. So that'll get him 5 points. And of course, he'll get his own Inquisitor, which will camp out right there. Now you'll notice there are some blank spaces here. This is normally something that you have to sort of contend with as you're advancing your books across your library. Some spaces are not going to give you benefits. That is where the special ability of Copernicus comes in. For his, as a free action on your turn, he has these special tiles that he can add into his library. And he could cover up symbols if he wanted, or even better, he can plug in empty spaces with some new icons. So he's not as fussed about blank spaces in there. In fact, he can leverage that to his benefit. And you may have noticed each of our individual astronomers have our own personal little comet space. So whenever you do claim one of those comet bonuses, you have your own personal one that you could take advantage of. So for right now, he will hold off on placing these down. It is a free action. He can do that at any time, and we'll likely see him do that when he's about to make some advancements in his library. It's back to us. We're going to go 1, 2. We'll take a red die. And for the bottom action, we'll gain a quadrant. And now we're going to move this Inquisitor 1 space, which means he will stand up. And at the end of our turn, we will have an interrogation. Now, I'm going to do a free action. I'm going to spend my 3 quadrants to get 2 more movements of this Inquisitor. So those go back, and he goes over to here. First step of the cleanup is we will move this. We ignore this. We haven't talked about it. Well, we kind of have. This is the step where if you have used your comet for a second time, you can claim one of those comet bonuses at the bottom of the board. Doesn't apply right now, but the interrogation does apply. So now that we have influenced an inquisitor and he is standing up, we have an interrogation. This is where we add up all the values for any inquisitors in our cellar. In this case, we just have one, and he's in the +1 section, which means we will gain one step, one advancement on the influence track. And with that done, we lay him down. Now, if we keep him here, he will be worth 1 point at the end of the game. Now, I say keep him here because there is a bonus out there that can be found in a couple of different spaces, like here, or if you've claimed one of these up here, and it's called an Inquisitor's Farewell. You're allowed to discard an Inquisitor from the rightmost space of your cellar, and it will gain you 1 quadrant and a die of your choice. So that's always an option that we have if we ever activate one of those symbols. Alien is up, and he's going to rotate 1 notch, and he's going to grab a die here and a die there. And for each of those, he will grab a blue die. All right, for us, I think we're going to advance 1 space. That will let us put out another comet. And then, that's a tough choice. We could crank that up by 2, but I think we'll go with this one because we are pretty low on dice. So we'll get one of our quadrants back. And we will grab a yellow. What I'm thinking is on our next turn, we can come here and get another yellow die and increase both of them by 2. Or, I'm sorry, both of them by 1. And we will get 1 victory point. Alien will do something very similar by adjusting 1, put out another comet. It's going to increase both of his blue dice by 1. Really tempted to come here and use these quadrants and this one to bump up the values there. That plus our comets, we could make a couple of constellation observations. But I don't think we would be able to make 3, and I don't like leaving this ability on the table. So I think instead we will come here, but we're going to use it to grab a yellow die, and then we'll use the bottom action here to increase both of those up by 1. So not as exciting of a turn, but it'll build us up a little bit more of a dice pool that hopefully we can have a bigger turn here down the road. And Alien will be advancing 1, and he will be taking the observe action. So he's got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and he'll use 1 of his comets to make 8 to be able to claim this one right here, which will gain him 7 points, tying him up with us, and he'll get a lovely visit from an Inquisitor. Now, these guys are still just camping out here, and he should probably start making a plan and move those along before he's got a bit of a problem. Now, you may have noticed that this stack of cards started with level 1 cards. denoted here. And it's kind of hard to see, but it's at the very top. The next cards in the stack are level 2s, and then followed by level 3s. So we have just seen the last level 1 card come out. They are easier to make observations on, both for the major objects as well as the constellations. The rewards are smaller. So starting with level 2, we're going to see harder to get cards, but with bigger rewards on them. So that was his observe action. And for the bottom, he's just going to take 2 quadrants. And for our turn, it's always hard to pass up an upgrade. So we're going to go there. And for the upgrade action, we'll flip this tile over. And the bottom action will get us a quadrant. And Alien is following in our footsteps. He's also going to do an upgrade. Earn himself a quadrant. Now you may have noticed we're not shifting any tiles when we do this. With this action here, you don't rotate anything. And I think we will go 1, 2. Use this to get a new die. Keep building up our dice pool. And then this is a fairly powerful upgrade for us now. All of our yellow dice will go up by 2. Mr. Alien is up, and he is going to rotate 1, 2 as well. He's going to use this icon here to get a die. He'll take a blue. Then he's going to activate this side of his tile, which is now upgraded, which is going to let him, for the first time, we'll see increasing in the university. This is called the lecture action. So he can choose one of these and push up the track once. And he's going to move up this track here. And of course, you'll gain whatever benefits you have come across. So that will gain him another quadrant. And then he's going to activate that icon right there, which is the write action. Essentially, you are journaling in your library all your various findings. When you see the icon with a flag on it, that means you're going to take any one of your book tokens and slide it all the way to the end of its current track, gaining anything that is printed on there. If you see the icon that has a number in it, then you'll gain exactly that many advancements, and you can split those advancements among all of the books that are in your library. But this one here with the flag, you're going to choose one book and advance it all the way to the end. And right before he does that, he's going to tap into his special ability for the first time, and he's going to bring this tile out here and cover up those dead spaces. Now he can advance this book all the way down, which is going to gain him 1 die, and he'll take a 1. This will gain him another quadrant, and in fact, he's going to make some change here. And then finally, 2 victory points, which will move him up to there. Now, I need to fix something. I have 2 extra points, 2 more than I should have. I had said I got 7 points when I made this major observation, but in fact, it was only 5. I think my mind was locked in on the 7 value of the observation. So we should have 2 less points. I think we're all squared away now. So that's all of his actions resolved. I think I see a nice combo we can do that'll let us tap into our special ability and work with the Inquisition a little bit. So I think we're going to come up to here, and we'll take that side of this tile first. which will increase both of our red dice by 1. Then we'll do the observe action. And again, normally we would observe 2 constellations. Our special ability is going to let us observe 3. So we will need these 3 dice. And for our first observation, we'll do this here. So the 4 satisfies the yellow 3 requirement, which will score us 4 points. And it will bring an Inquisitor into our cellar. So pop down there. And then we'll use this for mark our constellation. And this icon means that we will take the top card of the deck straight away. So we've got this stack of cards here. And when you see that icon, it means you literally just take the card, don't flip it over, and you add it just like that. And then, of course, we'll mark this as observed. Now for our second observation, we'll use that red 2 with our level 1 comet. We'll take this. That's going to let us visit the university. So we'll mark this here, and we'll get 1 point and advance the Inquisitor in our cellar. So he's going to stand up, which means we're going to have an interrogation at the end of our turn. Now for this benefit, I think we'll jump up on the comet track here, and that'll get us a quadrant. Then for this last observation, we are going to spend that quadrant that we just got to increase the value of this red die by 1. And then we'll spend this level 2 comet to give us the required 5 for this observation. So that'll get us 3 more points. And that quadrant right back. Then we'll take this, which will get us 1 more of those cards off the top. And we'll mark this as observed. Now we're starting to get a pretty good build on our library here, so we might want to start thinking about taking this action right here, which will let us tap into that a little bit. Now before our turn finishes out, I'm going to take this free action here. We'll spend all 3 of these quadrants to gain 2 movement, which will put him in a nice position over here. Now we move into cleanup, and we will first rotate our tiles here. And now we will see, for the first time, this part of cleanup. And that will let us take the benefits from the Book of Comets. This we will ignore. This is only used in a 3 to 4 player game. So we can grab any one of these benefits. And remember, we do have our own personal comet that we can tap into. But I think for this one, we will grab this benefit right here, which will give us 3 movements within our library. We'll take our first one here, and we'll grab a blue die. And then our second one here, which will get us a quadrant. Our third one will advance 1 more. And just to get 1 of everything, we'll grab a red die. So that's that. Now we have an interrogation. And for here, we add up the values, and we have 2 people here, which will give us a +2, which will increase our standings on the reputation track by 2. So, where we are at now, we will not lose any points at the end of the game. Hopefully we can push that up further and turn it into some points. So we'll lay that down. This last step here we haven't talked about yet, but the last thing that you're always checking for are these objectives up here. And the first person to achieve any one of these objectives gets to claim the top position, which will give them 7 points. Everyone else that comes behind after they've completed it, they'll get 3 points for it. This first objective is to have put out 2 comets, made 2 constellation observations, and observed 2 major objects. Now, we actually have observed 2 constellations. We have 2 comets that have been put out. But the major objects, we have 3 cards there, but we have only really observed 1 of them. The other 2 were just bonuses we gained. So you can always tell which ones you've observed because they have a darker reward row. So even though we have 3 major objects, we don't actually qualify for this one just yet, but we're close. All we need is 1 more major object, and then we can get that. We're getting there on this one. We have 4 constellations. This wants to see 6 of them observed. This wants you to have upgraded 5 of your tiles. And this one here, you need to get to the top of 2 of these tracks out there. So that's always the last step of your turn, is checking to see if you have completed any of those objectives. And if you have, then you claim the points. And then regardless if you were the first or second or third or whatever to claim, anytime you claim an objective, you can do an Inquisitor's Farewell if you want. That's where you can remove an Inquisitor from the rightmost space and gain a quadrant and a die. So that's the end of our cleanup. On to Mr. Alien. For his turn, he's going to adjust up to there. He'll take that side of the tile to increase that by 2, and then he's going to do the observe action. And he's going to observe 2 constellations. The first one, we'll take this and that, which will get him 1 more quadrant. And he's going to observe this constellation right there for 2 points. His second, he will use this die here, and he's going to contribute both that comet as well as this one here. So he's going to have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, plus that quadrant he just received to make this a level 5 blue die to observe right there. So that's going to flip over. That will come down there. He'll be able to take this, and he'll gain that benefit. So that'll get him 3 more points. An Inquisitor movement, or influence, which will stand him up. And then this benefit right there, which again is one of these right into the library just like that. And before he ends his turn out, he's going to spend 3 quadrants to take that bonus, which will let him move 1, 2. Then he's going to spend 2 more quadrants, which will give him 3 book movements in his library. So these will go away. And then he'll advance there for 1 more movement. He'll advance there and push up on this track, which will get him 1 of those quadrants back. And then his third movement will be right there. Now into cleanup. Rotate those. And now he can take his Book of Comets benefit. He's going to move this right over to there, which will put his Inquisitors right there. Just in time for an interrogation. So he's got them all the way over here. These are added together, going to increase him on the reputation track by 2. Final step is to check for objectives, and he's done it. He's got 2 comets, 2 constellations, and 2 major objects observed, which will fulfill that objective right there. So he can place that token out right there, and that'll get him 7 points. He could do an Inquisitor's Farewell if he wanted to, but I think he's going to hold off. And that's his turn. For our turn, not really in a hurry to spend these because Alien doesn't have any dice, so we're not in any risk of him snatching something out from underneath us. So I think we'll go a little slower right now and just do an upgrade. That'll give us a quadrant. And I think we'll upgrade that tile right there. His turn is going to be very similar. It's going to move right there for a quadrant and an upgrade of this tile. I think this turn is going to be a little bit more setup as well. We'll go 1, 2 to here. We're going to take this side of the action. So we're going to increase on a university track. And let's start climbing up here. Maybe we can get some points out of our Inquisitors at the end of the game. That's going to give us 1 book movement. We'll move here for another advancement in the university. And we'll go up on there, which will get us 3 more movements in our library. So we'll move right there, which will give us an Inquisitor. That's 1 movement. Second will be here to advance him. Third one will be right there, which will advance him again. So that was all from that action there. This one, we're going to take the right side, which will give us a quadrant, a die, and I think we'll take another blue, and then a point. Then the last thing we'll do on our turn is we will spend 2 quadrants to get 3 book movements. First one will be there to increase all of our blue dice by 1. Second book movement will go there, and we can move that Inquisitor into the happy spot. And then for our third book movement, we'll go here and increase that by 1. And that's our turn. So we'll slide that. No comets. We do have an interrogation. So added together, we have 3. A positive 3, that is. So this will increase by 3 on that track, and we're going to score some points now at this point. And of course, we still haven't qualified for any of the objectives, but we're getting close. We'll get there. Alien is needing some dice. So he's going to go 1, 2 to right there. He's actually going to take the university increase, and he's going to bump up right there, which will give him a movement in his library to come there. And he's going to take a yellow die. Then he'll take that action there, which is going to increase this die by 3, which will take it up to a 4, and get him a quadrant. Now for us, we're just going to go 1 notch right here. It's going to let us put out our next comet for the top action. Place that out there. The bottom one, we're going to increase our blue dice by 1. So we're starting to build up a pretty good pool here. And then this will rotate. That's it for us. But speaking of rotating, we did forget to rotate Alien's tile on his turn. Now, there's an official tip in the rulebook. This is a very easy thing to overlook when you're thinking about all the other stuff. It's easy to forget to move this down. The rulebook gives an official tip that when you're taking the action to pull it out of its slot just a little bit, and that kind of reminds you to move this when you're done. But that should have been done on his last turn, so now we're all caught up. And he's going to have a very similar turn to us. It's all about resource generation and setting ourselves up for better turns in the future here. So there's the comet out, and he's going to take a die, and it will be a blue. That's his turn done. Well, let's spend some of these resources here. I think we'll slide up here. And we are going to take the observe action. So we'll use these, and we're going to observe Luna here. So we've got 5, 6, and then we'll use this comet for 7, 8 to give us our 8 orange. So these tokens, whenever you observe a major object that has constellation tokens, these just come off and go back in the box. So you don't need them anymore. So we will take this. We'll get 7 points and an Inquisitor into our world over here. Come down over there, and then a new one comes out. This is actually the first level 2 card we've seen face up over here. So you can see the cost to get that one is 11, but higher rewards for it. And then we'll use our special ability to observe a constellation. And I think we will use this 3 in this quadrant to observe that constellation there. So that will be the 4 that was needed, but we'll actually get that quadrant right back. We'll pull this off, which will move that Inquisitor. We'll cover that up. That'll give us 2 points, plus the 7 points from there for a total of 9 points on this action. For the bottom action, might as well take that one and bump this up to a 5. So that will rotate. And now we can take our Book of Comets benefit. I think we'll place it out right here and get ourselves a red die. Now we have an interrogation. So this guy is worth -2 here, but we have +3 there. So we end up with a net gain of 1. Now we probably want to try to move him further along before we start accumulating too many more, because this offsets this a little bit, but I think we can get overrun kind of easily if we don't manage that part properly. But for right now, we're good. We don't qualify for any more objectives, but we are 1 constellation away from getting that one there. And the alien is going to advance 1 there to get a blue die. Use the bottom action to increase both of these by 1. No more to do there. I'm feeling a little bit of a race for the objective that has us upgrading 5 of these tiles. So I think we'll jump over here, grab the quadrant, and let's upgrade this one right here. All right, we're 1 away, and then we'll have that objective. And Mr. Alien is going to go 1, 2. He will increase both of his blue dice by 4 for the bottom. And then for his observe, he's going to use these to observe Saturn here, which will give him 5 points, which now brings him up to 34. That is the last level 2 card. We're now hit into level 3s. So we are working our way here toward the end. So that's his observe. He's done his upgrades or his die increases. No other cleanup for him. On to us. This seems like a good time to work towards some endgame objectives here. So I think the first thing we're going to activate is this right half of the tile over here. So we're going to do a university increase, and we're going to run one of our books all the way to the end. We'll start with that. So we're going to take this guy and run it all the way to the end. So we're going to get 4 points, 1 die, and increase on a university track. Move that down there. And I think for the die, we'll grab a yellow, so we got 1 of everything. We will gain 4 points. And the university, I think we'll just bump up right there, which of course is going to move this guy here, which will get us an interrogation. So that was all from this book movement here. Now we're going to do another university increase. And we might as well finish this track off, which is going to give us a movement in our library. And we'll go here, which will get us a quadrant. And then we can do the top action, which will go ahead and take another bump in the university. You know, kind of thinking to change my mind there. Instead of a bump in the university, which would be good because if all we need is 3 more increases and we will be at the top of both of these tracks, which is valuable, and we'd be able to claim that objective sooner rather than later. But I'm also thinking that if we have our level 3 cards starting to come out, the cost of those are going to be expensive, and maybe it's better to have dice on hand. And the next couple of spots that we stop at will increase all of our yellow dice by 2. So I really want those university increases, but I'm thinking maybe we get some yellow dice to capitalize on a good amount of resources. So with that, we will bring that in right there. Now that rotates. No comets, but we do have an interrogation at a -1 plus 3, so we will actually increase by 2. So we're getting pretty close to the top of this track here. If we ever get to the top of that track and would gain any more on here, we would gain 2 points. No matter how many spaces we should be advancing, you just gain 2 points for the fact that you're at the end of the track. So then he lays down, and that's it for us. Not to be outdone by us, Alien is going to follow in our footsteps. First, he's going to activate the right side of this tile, which will get him, first off, 1 point, a quadrant, and then he's going to slide one of his books all the way down. He's going to run this one right here, which will get him 2 dice and an Inquisitor. And he'll just get one of each color. Then he's going to increase in the university. He'll move up one on this track, which will get him another book movement in his library. He'll increase right here, which will get him another advancement at the university, which he will take right here, and that will give him one advancement with his Inquisitor. Then he's going to spend 3 quadrants to advance this Inquisitor 2 more times. That'll end his actions. And he will have an interrogation, which in this case, he's going to have a positive increase of 3 for the 3 Inquisitors there, which will move him into the positive. No objectives to worry about, so now it's back to us. This turn will be fairly straightforward. We come here, and we want to keep working on these comets here because, of course, we are maxed out on that track there, which will help us score points. So we want to try to get out as many of those as we can. So we'll put the comet out, and then let's increase both of these dice by 2. Continue building up those resources. That'll be it for our actions and it for our turn. Alien is going to advance to right here, and for the bottom action he will just take the 2 quadrants. For the top action he will observe 2 constellations. The first one, he's going to take this die with this comet to make that observation. So he will pull this one here, which will get him a bump on the university track, and he will take that bump right here. So he's at the top to cash in as best as he can for the major observations that he's made. So place that over here. That's going to get him 7 points. And 2 Inquisitors. That'll come down there for later. And then for his second constellation, he's going to use this die, and he'll gain the top card from the stack so that he can make that observation of Taurus. That'll just get him 2 points. And of course, he will claim that right there for that reward. Now this stack only has 3 more cards left in it. This little chart here shows you a breakdown. In a 2-player game, there are 9 level 1 cards, there are 5 level 2, and 4 level 3. So we have 3 of those cards left as our end game timer. So that will end his actions, and we'll rotate. Then for his comet benefit, he's going to take this, and he's actually going to use his personal comet's ability right here. Now this one says that he can influence 2 Inquisitors, 2 different Inquisitors, and they can each go up 2 spaces. That's perfect. So he'll take that guy up there, that guy up there, and then he's going to spend 3 quadrants to get 2 more movements, which will put both of them in the final space here. So that's that. Of course, that means he has an interrogation, And this one he's going to clean up pretty nicely. He's got 5 Inquisitors in this last space, so he's going to increase on the track up here 5 spaces. He's made it to the final spot. So he's not in position to grab any more objectives. That will end his turn. Speaking of objectives, we are overdue. We should have claimed that one objective when we did this last major observation, because that gave us 2 major observations, our 2 comets, our 2 constellations. So we should have already claimed that one right there for 3 points. Sorry about that, but I think we're caught up now. What I'd like to do on this turn, I think it'd be great if we could make our 6th constellation observation, because then we could claim that other objective up there, which would be great. But what I'm nervous about is that there's only 2 constellations left for what's on offer, and they both bring in Inquisitors. And I'm a little concerned that we're not going to have enough time to bring Inquisitors in and move them along the track. We are fairly far along that track, so I'm not really worried about going into negative, but I think we're going to lose victory points if we don't manage this the right way. So with that said, what we could do is observe this major object. It's going to kind of clean out a lot of what we have to work with, but it's 10 points. It would let us bring our last Inquisitor to the good space here in the cellar, and maybe whatever card comes out might have a constellation on it that we could observe. It's a little bit of a risk, but I feel like that's maybe less risky than bringing in Inquisitors that we may not be able to handle. So let's give that a shot. So we will move to here. And we'll hold off on what we want to do on the bottom action. Not quite sure yet if we should increase these dice or take the quadrants and the point. Maybe we'll wait and see what comes out first, because to make the observation that we want, it's going to take these 2 dice and all 3 of these quadrants. So we're going to do this guy here, which is 11. So we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So we use both of those comets, all of our quadrants, and both of those dice. But again, that will score us 10 points, and we can get the Inquisitor into the last space. Ooh. Oh, that's perfect. It'll clean out all of our dice, but we can claim that, get us 5 points. No Inquisitors. That's beautiful. So we can use these. We don't even need to adjust them, so we might as well take the 3 quadrants and the point for the bottom part of our actions here. Then we'll grab these dice. And this constellation, which is going to bring us in one of the cards, we'll claim that for 5 more points. And again, we're bringing in one of those cards, which means there's only 1 left in that stack. Now we'll rotate. We used 2 comets, but none of them were level 2s, so nothing to gain there. We will have an interrogation. They are all right here, so we've got 4 which will give us 4 bumps, but we can only take one of them. The rest will just translate into 2 points. And now we do have 6 of our constellations out, which means we can claim that objective right there for 7 points. I don't think I'm going to worry about the Inquisitor's farewell, so that will end our turn. Alien is going to advance 1, take a quadrant, and do his upgrade. And he'll go with this one right here. Quick and simple turn for him. Back to us. We're going to have a similar quick turn. We're going to come here for a quadrant. I think we'll upgrade this guy right here. Now that does complete an objective. We have 5 upgrades completed, which will let us claim that right there for 7 points. And I think we are this time. I think we are going to do the Inquisitor's farewell. So we'll gain a quadrant and a die of our choice. We'll take a yellow and the quadrant. Now for Mr. Alien, he's going to move 1. Go over there. He's going to take this action here, which will give him a quadrant. And then he's going to adjust this up by 3, which will take the 1 to a 4. Then he's going to observe, and he's just going to observe a single comet. So he'll take this and observe this. I'm sorry, not comet, a constellation. He'll observe that one there. He'll gain 5 points and an Inquisitor. Now, the rules say that the first thing that happens is you gain whatever's on the card first, and then you resolve whatever benefits you have from revealing the space there. So in this case, it will move that Inquisitor there. And of course, that die is spent. Then he's going to spend 2 quadrants to get 3 book movements. He's going to go 1 for a die. 2 for a quadrant, and 3 to bump up right here, which will let him move that Inquisitor a little further along. And then another free action for him. He's going to place that token right there and spend 2 more quadrants to get 3 more book movements. 1 there, and he is going to do an Inquisitor's farewell. So that'll get him a quadrant, and he's going to take a red die. Then he'll do 2, 3 for another advancement up here. He's reached there, which will let him move that all the way into the final space. And that's it for his turn. His actions are done. He'll rotate here. And then there will be an interrogation. He has a total of 5 here, which is no problem. He's at the end of the track, so he'll just get 2 points. And then he's actually at the top of 2 of the university tracks, which will let him claim this objective right there for 7 points. And he is going to do 1 more Inquisitor's farewell. He is losing points, giving up at least 1 point by doing this, but you also can get some very needed resources in the moment. Well, at this point, it's a little bit of a race to the finish line. There's only one card left to come out. And I think at this point, the only thing I'm really kind of got my sights on is maybe pushing up this track a little bit further. There's not a ton of time to do a lot. So we can move up on that track. And of course, making observations is always a plus as well. So I think with that in mind, one of the first things I want to do is we'll spend 2 quadrants to gain ourselves a red die. And then we'll come down here and might think we're going to take that for the red die, but I actually want to run this here instead because it'll help push us up on that track there, and then we can take the increase right there. And then I think for this book movement, we're going to run this one all the way to the end. So we will gain 1 quadrant, and then we'll gain 2 pip-ups on the red die. Now for the observe action, we're going to use both of these guys to observe this. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which will give us what we need. And that will give us 9 more points. So from 64 up to 73. So first thing we'll do is rotate these guys. Next is we'll gain our Book of Comets benefits. And I think we'll grab this one here, which will let us push up one more time on this track. And that'll get us a quadrant. And then I think the second one, we'll just take the 3 points. Now we are almost at a point where we can claim that last objective. We just need one more bump. But that'll be it for our turn. No, I almost forgot. This final card comes out, which will trigger the end of the game. Now, the way that this works is when the final card comes out, you finish the current round, so everyone gets the same number of turns, and then you play one more full round. So what that means for us is it's going to be Alien's turn. That'll complete the round. So we essentially get one more turn. Alien's going to get 2 more turns. The first thing that Alien will do is rotate this 3 spaces up to here. He's going to activate the bottom right tile, right side of the bottom tile here first. And the first thing he's going to do is the book. He'll run this one all the way across, which will get him a quadrant, a bump up on his yellow die, and 2 points. Then he's going to spend, he'll get the university bump here in a second. He's going to spend 2 of his quadrants to get 3 book movements for 2 more points, 1 of those quadrants back. And this one will just take him to the end of his row there. So for the university, he's just going to come up on this one. That'll get him another quadrant. For the top part, he will not observe. He's going to take another yellow die. Actions are done. Rotation's done. Turn is done. Okay, on to our final turn, which is going to be a nice, comfortable completing of our goals and a little cleanup with what we have left over, I think. So let's move right up to here, so that we can get that final bump we were looking for over here. And then it will get us a quadrant. And then I think we will go ahead and spend a couple of these quadrants to get 3 book movements, which will be 1. We don't get anything for that. We'll get 2 points and one of those quadrants back. So there's our 2 points. Then for the bottom actions, there's obviously not much we can do with some of this, so we'll take the 1 quadrant. And then I think we'll go ahead and spend 4 of these to put out another comet. Not that we're going to use it, but the 1 university track makes comets a little valuable for us to have out there. They don't need to be completely used, they just need to be deployed out on the board. And we've got 2 quadrants left. Why not? We'll spend these 2 to get 3 more book movements. And we'll go 1, 2, 3, which will get us one of those quadrants back and a die. And the only reason why I'm doing this is in the event of a tie, the first tiebreaker is whoever has the largest sum total of dice left over here. And if there's still a tie, the next tiebreaker is whoever has the most quadrants. So if it comes down to the world of ties, at least we have something in each category. But we'll see how it plays out. But our actions are done. So that will rotate. Not that it matters on this last turn, but we'll be thorough. Nothing there, no interrogations, but we have completed this last objective right here. We got to the top of 2 university tracks, so we'll get 3 more points. And now, on to Mr. Alien's final turn. He's going to rotate 1, 2 over to here. He'll take the bottom action first, which will get him 2 quadrants. And then he'll do an observe. He's going to use these 3 dice here for 2, 3, and then he's going to spend 2 of his quadrants to tick this up by 2. So he's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, so that he can observe Aurora Borealis. That will score him 7 points. Oh, I almost did it again. That's only 5 points. So he will get 2 of those back. That will add in there. And then he will spend 2 of his last 3 quadrants to get 3 more book movements. This one here, which will get him those 2 points back. I'll do that one there to gain a blue die, and this one here to pip that die up by 1. Now this is a little tricky. If you brought that over, it would bring an Inquisitor into a space, and without the resources or the time to get it moved along, that would lose him 8 points at the end of the game. So he only had 3 book movements, and that suited him just fine, because the book movements here are very important to him. So that will end his turn. No point in rotating, no comets to claim, no interrogation, and he already has the achievements that he can get. So now we go into final scoring. Now all of final scoring can be found in this section here, and you're reminded of it right here. The first thing we score is our standings on the university tracks. Then we'll score where we're at on the Inquisition's reputation track. The criteria for this track that he reached the top of says that you'll score equal to the spaces moved by the leftmost book token in your library. So for him, that would be this leftmost token, and it's the number of spaces that have advanced. He'll score that times the multiplier of that track. So Mr. Alien did pretty good here. Got up to the top, and he has this leftmost token 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces up. So it's going to be 6 times 3 for 18 points. And he will gain all of those right there. Now we, unfortunately, didn't make any advances on that track, so we won't score that criteria at all. Next up is the number of major objects that were observed. And once again, we did not advance on that track at all, so we will score no points for this. Alien is at the top, so he will score times 3. And again, the major objects are the ones that have the brown backgrounds. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those times 3 for 12 more points. Next up, we have comets. This one is you will score for every comet token that's been removed from your player board. And for us, we have 5 of them removed. And we're at the 2x multiplier, so we will gain 10 points for this. Alien did not advance far enough on the track to score for this, so he'll get 0 points. And the same thing for the final category. He did not advance on that, so he'll score 0 for this one. Now the criteria for this one is you'll gain points for every Inquisitor token that's in your cellar, regardless of where they are. So even if they're in spots that would score negative points, this will still nab you some points. But for us, we have 4 Inquisitors times 3, so we'll get 12 points for that. So that's it for the University. The last is the Inquisition. And the first thing that you'll score is the Inquisitors in your cellars and the positions that they're in. So we have 4 of them here for 4 points. And Alien has the same thing. He's got 4 in the final position, so we will both score 4 points. And then the very last bit of scoring is your standings on the reputation track here. We are both sitting in the final space, so we will both get 10 points. Oh, these should be actually flipped over. But that's it. We did it. We beat Mr. Alien at his own game. We saw him coming a mile away. Now, actually, it was fairly close scores there. And I think it's interesting the way that the individual player abilities work out, being able to double tap into our observation actions and gain from that while he's working with his library and filling in some of those blanks. And of course, there are other astronomers to use with their own abilities. I think it gives a nice flavor to the game. But that's it. That's a full 2-player game of Galileo Galilei. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that this gave you a sense of whether or not this would be a good fit for you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. And until next time, we'll see you on our next expedition.